Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Finding the Unicorn in You. Today, I have an individual who moved to Costa Rica and began collecting pinball machines. He is the CEO of Costa Rica's call center. And without further ado, I'll let him introduce himself. I have Richard Blake.
I'm so happy to be here with you and your audience this evening. Got a really lot of great things to share with you.
I'm really excited. So let's start off with the thing that kind of stands out to me. So pinball machines. So what's the story behind that?
I'm a Generation X. I grew up in the 70s and 80s. $5 had to last you a whole weekend, and pinball machines were the most expensive. And so, I don't know, one man's trash is another man's treasure. And when you have disposable income, you can choose whatever you want to spend it on. And to me, I love restoring classic pinball machines, retro arcade machines, and especially jukeboxes. And so I have the space. I got a very nice collection. And really, it just brings me so much joy. Most of these machines are older than the agents. It gives them a chance to try it out, let off steam, recharge batteries, and do something a little bit different from that Xbox and PlayStation.
Definitely. Nothing really beats the mechanics and even like the machinery that it was back in the day. It's a lot of skill and you see it right in front of you and it's not behind a screen. So that's amazing.
And you can feel the machine as well. In fact, the oldest machine I have is a 1976 Bally's Freedom. And these machines withstand the test of time, besides the craftsmanship, but some of these electronics from the 70s and 80s, they can really hold up. You just got to replace maybe a fuse and a cable every now and again, and the bumpers get worn down, and same with the flippers. But these professional electricians, they really know how to go through these machines, and they take their time. And as I say, you can learn as you play, and you are 1,000% correct when you can trap the ball and you aim for certain targets. And to me, Jaime, the older machines had a much more open play field than the machines today. Machines today are beautiful, and I consider them stacking stuff where it's about halfway through the play field and they just put on ramps or tunnels or just other sort of electronic things to move and to become animated. And that's fine. But the old machines with less targets, but more specific shots, you really get to see more of the artwork. It's more of a beginner's machine or advanced as well. But I'll tell you, when you look at the play field and you see those old marquees, and especially the older machines when they painted on the wood before putting the special laminate down and these high-end stickers, it's almost like the old furniture, the old wood furniture when it cracks a little bit. It has its own specific way, its own way about it, where the ball rolls its own way. And when I get a chance to see that, I really get to explore and look at the games, and I know the value of them now. And it's just a wonderful hobby. And you can find some machines that are very cost effective. And if you put that in your living room, I guarantee you'll be the most popular person in the neighborhood. Everyone's going to want to do it.
Yeah, it's very unique. It's not something that you hear people collect all the time. And it's a pretty cool hobby.
Do you like classic movies?
Yes.
Me too. And so when I look at some of the stuff, you get to see some of the old games, the penny arcades or the jukeboxes, especially for me. Then again, when you're looking at the stuff from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, they're in a restaurant or a train station or just around the way, you're going to see a classic machine, and you start learning the topics, so you can start pointing them out. But no, I hear you, my friend. They're very rare to find these days. And if you can, grab one. And I tell you, really bring a lot of joy.
I love that. So transitioning a little bit into business. So did you open up your business after you moved to Costa Rica, or did Costa Rica kind of light the fire to open up your business?
That's a fantastic question. How about let's go back a little bit further.
Okay.
When I grew up in Northeast Philadelphia at the proud Abington High School, and I graduated in 91, I decided to double down on languages. I didn't follow in my family's footsteps by going Ivy League. My grandpa went to Harvard Law. My pops went to Columbia Business. My brother went to Washington and Lee University. I wasn't mature enough, nor had the grades. So my school believed in me, and they knew that I loved languages. So they wrote me some college recommendations letters and helped me get into Arizona. And so from there, I was able to intern with Telemundo, postgrad work with Corona Beer. And at 27 years old, I had a 1 in a million opportunity to move to Costa Rica and work at my friend's call center. It was only supposed to be for 2 months. You've been to Costa Rica. You know how beautiful it is here. It's pura vida. I fell in love with it. And I learned the business, Jaime, from the inside out, not at sea level. And a call center environment, especially with bilingual agents, it's a great synergy. It's intensive concentration. There's stimulation there.
Mhm.
And I believe I learned a secret about business. It doesn't matter what vertical you're in. When I was sitting with the people, you got to hear the gripes, the good and the bad, and the happy and the sad. And it was really their dignity and extending any sort of empathy towards them. So it's
Mhm.
not an easy job, not for the faint of heart. There is burnout and people can get pissed off. So if you're able to give them second wins, or in my case, play pinball with them or just get real with them and letting them know that what they're doing is 10 times harder than some other jobs. And the fact that they're getting a return on their investment with English is fantastic. So if we can address fear and put things in perspective, there's a very good chance these individuals can reset themselves and calm down
Mhm.
and stay professionally.
And for this call center, was it the same call center that you started when you were 27, or did you decide to just start your own business?
After working with my friend for 4 years, time was a ticking. And I was 31 years old when I decided to leave his company. And working out of my home, I assisted my brother, who was a broker in Arizona. And I had a couple guys working out of my house, making some appointment settings for him. But then when the market crashed, I didn't know what to do. But I did have this. I had maturity, impulse control, and some capital and enough money to live a couple of years. So I put a website out there. And October 4th of 2007, and February 6th of 2008, my friend, I closed one deal for one seat. But I tell you, it's the greatest thing ever because you created something from nothing. And
Mhm.
from there, I built on that momentum. And check this out. This is the growth after 15 years of being in my own company. I was renting space. I was doing individual stations at a blended center. So I could pay the overhead, the taxes, the salaries, and make a margin. It was top dollar, it was a la carte, but I was able to scale accordingly and not overextend myself. So after a couple of years, I had even more capital. So I rented space and bought used furniture and used computers. I'm not buying used underwear, but I'm buying things that add value, and I can get them for pennies on a dollar when there are rotations of call centers. And after 6 years of paying that rent and almost busting out of this location, I decided to build a center. And so we've been here for 4 years. It can house 300 agents. But Jaime, right before COVID, I was looking for additional space. Post COVID, I don't need additional space. Most agents want to work hybrid. Some people come on site for internet redundancy, backup electricity, and immediate IT support.
Mhm.
But it's changed, and individuals have leverage. If they're very good and competent on the phone with no shenanigans, then by all means, they can choose whatever call center they want to work with. And I needed to make some adjustments, my man. The days of walking the rows in the packed pinball game room and things like that's of the past.
Mhm.
And so it's really taking everything from a painting and now making a print. People are just virtual. They're just making their jobs, and sure, they're saving money and time. But this was a fun environment. It was very youthful, and people could learn from one another. And that's where you make your best friends. And that's one of the things that is missing today.
And I think we got so used to with the pandemic being isolated that we forgot how it is to be part of a community or be part of going in. Yeah, I've been saving money and time in the commute, but just being around other people who are doing the same thing as you, have similar passions, you do start fostering a community and create that fun space. And that it's been such a long time of us being isolated that we forgot what that feels like.
Of course. But if you had it, you never lost it. It
Mhm.
just got preserved. And maybe we could readjust that mass into other areas. For an example, when we get on these Zoom calls, it's wonderful to see what's behind people. Your audience can see this gorgeous 1961 Ricola Regis in my private candy stash, but that's not the point. You can sometimes see people's worlds that they would not disclose earlier. And that's a way to anchor into bond that you would have never had before. And then again, how about this? Absence makes the heart grow fonder. I don't expect the people to be in love with me or think about me every day, But I do know this. When they get to see your face after a period of time, you can see it glowing and they smile more. And when you get that sincere, it's really good to see you, Jaime. It's been a while. It's coming from the heart. And so you can make up for that sort of distancing as well by bonding in other areas and maybe just making those additional efforts, just really paying attention to the people that work with you and your friends and family and remembering those details and dates. So when you do remind them that you were thinking about them during those special moments, separate yourself from the others that really do not show that sort of interest.
That is very true. And it's a different adaptation that we have to get ourselves into because, like you said, it's a new world and we need to start working with people and adapting to it. If not, we may not be able to compete with others who do decide like that.
Yeah, but I'm old school. Jaime, if we go out to eat, the last thing I'm going to do is look at my phone. I'm going to have a normal conversation with you. We're going to share stories. We're going to connect that way. And so I can combine the old world and the new world because if I drop my phone in water or the Wi-Fi goes out, there's no electricity. Can you do song and dance? Can you tell us? Are you fun? And so I want to make sure that I don't need to rely on technology nor depend on it. I still want to make sure that I have my core values and structure where I can still properly represent myself and think critically without having that phone or that computer right at your hand.
Yeah, you have to be able to still function without it. A lot of individuals I've heard, especially like the younger generations, they've had it all their life, so they don't know what it is to be with or without the phone. But that kind of goes into the next transition with my question, difficulties. So what would you say in your unicorn journey that you've gone through so far was one of the obstacles or difficult transitions that you had to go through to get where you are today?
Family guilt. When you're growing up, you're provided opinions and there might be some career expectations of you. And so you have to decide to either live somebody's life or to live your own life. So not saying I was completely selfish. I was on a vision quest. I had momentum. Jaime, you're bilingual. You know about positive reinforcement. I was doing more dedicated practice than I was studying. You put 5 hours in school and a little bit of homework, you'll pass. But if you go to movies, if you read books, if you have intercambios and you spend an afternoon speaking Spanish and you live it, it's almost like someone that hits the gym, plays the violin or campaign. I was a linguist. And I always found that it opened doors. Learning the subjunctive tense and certain vocabularies and how to conjugate certain verbs really showed dedication and structure because the people that I meet that are bilingual, that bears the mark of high education. Even if they have an accent, it's like a beauty mark. And so for me, I was always fighting for that sort of feeling that I knew that if I bet everything on that, it would come together. And I guess my greatest argument, Jaime, and it did make the most sense, was that my great grandparents came from Eastern Europe at the turn of the 20th century to New York City. Now, they're in the garment industry. They were learning English, and that's how they made their livings. And so it just skipped a couple generations. We're nomads. And I had that bug. I wanted to leave a castle, slay a dragon, and save a princess. And so my intentions were honorable. They saw that I was really putting something into this. And this wasn't just fleeting or a game at a cocktail party. I was really trying to do this. And the only way to live this life was to move abroad and to really try to see if this was the right place for me. And obviously after 23 years, it was. I do miss my family and my friend. But then again, this was my own adventure. And it's been amazing. I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah, and that's a big sacrifice. And especially now with everything that's going on, a lot of people are choosing to maybe try a different place, a different location and test the waters over there. But there is that risk of leaving everything behind. Are you willing to sacrifice not seeing your family and your friends every single day in person versus going out and seeking out your dream and seeing if it willing to take the risk for yourself?
Could always click your heels and come home like Dorothy. It
There's
so happens my run lasted this long. I mean, it kept getting better. Hmm.
And what would you say were some things that kind of helped you not come back and stick it through?
The preparation prior to Costa Rica. Once again, having that strong interest in my teens, majoring it in my 20s, earning some living from it prior to Costa Rica, and even spending my junior year abroad in Spain. And so these are the sort of things that when this opportunity came, it was extremely easy for me to acclimate myself. Plus, I had a very good friend here that owned the call center, and my cousin was here. And so it was like an underhand pitch with a wiffle ball. It was too easy. And immediately I was making tons of friends. I shed some skin, spoke the language. At 27, I got one last shot at it, and I was going to take it. And I was really almost carpe diem, living each day as if it were my last, because I could have been sent home anytime. It could have ended any day.
Mhm.
And if you live life like that, that's incredible. The wine is the sweetest and the colors are the brightest. And I left all the things that were essential back in Philadelphia and Arizona that meant something where I didn't mean anything here. It was really the essence of the person, is knowing that you're a guest in another country and keeping an open mind and asking questions for clarification, because people love to explain cultures and traditions, and always getting that second plate of food because it's delicious, and talking to certain people. And I just like knowing. And I don't want to be seen as somebody here that has certain expectations. I don't expect anything. In fact, the one thing that I've learned is to have patience, because all I'm doing is learning. And the best thing I can do is just understand the environment that I'm in, ask as much as I can to make sure I don't offend anybody.
Yeah.
And if it's something, my friend, that I want to incorporate in my life, then by all means, it's another feather in my cap. And it really just shows that somebody is grounded and humble and is capable of understanding other people from different perspectives. And that's a wonderful way to live life.
I love that. And I like the fact that you said you remind yourself you're a guest in another country or in another location, and being open-minded. Some of us have that idea of, I want things to be the same no matter where I go, but that's not the case, because you're no longer at home. You're no longer in your same routine. You have to be open to change, open to differences, and learn from them. Like you said, what if you really like this new transition, or this new tradition, I should say, and it could be part of your new life. But if you're not open to it, to try new things, then you're not going to be able to have these very big and wonderful experiences.
What makes them so special?
Mm-hmm.
Why are they the moral compass? Why are they the starting quarterback? The greatest thing you could do is to start from scratch,
Mm-hmm.
and just keep building again. As long as you're secure with yourself, as long as physiologically you're healthy and you rest and you take care of certain things, then you're capable of expanding and thinking about others. And for me to expand, I needed to delegate. It was the richer trunk. I needed branches and roots. And so I needed leap of faiths. I needed attorneys and accountants, human resources directors, IT directors, things that I didn't have the time, patience, or even the interest to learn. But I needed these individuals to work with me. And I preferred to promote from within,
Mm-hmm.
because when somebody shows you vigor and commitment, that's a much stronger foundation than a hot shot that comes in, can be a jumper cancer, and shake things up a little bit. And it's almost like a squire to a knight. Listen, I can teach you a CRM and a phone system. That's no big deal. But if you come into me and tell me a coming of age story, and you speak beautiful English, and you're eager to learn, pen at the ready, then by all means, we're definitely going to take you in, and we're going to mold you. And these are some of the best supervisors I've ever seen in my entire life, because they have no bad habits. They did old school, Jaime, just like you and I do. And we can be very selective. And I also believe that water seeks its own level. And so people gravitate towards my center. We're not thousands like Amazon. We're 150. You will make a name for yourself. I will know who you are.
Mhm.
You have that sort of fear, then this is not the environment for you. But if you want to be known, then by all means, allow me to put wind in your sails.
I love that. And if you can go back with all the knowledge and experience you've had so far and talk to a younger version of yourself, whatever age it may be, what advice would you provide yourself that would have maybe escalated your success a little bit faster?
Two things. I would remind them that I'll be bald. You got great hair, by the way, and I hate you for it. All right. Secondly, let's be serious about this. I would tell my younger self not to be so hard on myself. Why would you? Your intentions are honorable. You're swinging for fences. You're young. You got tons of energy, but no experience, tons of gas in the car. You just don't know where to go. What do you expect?
Mhm.
And there's only so many mentors, teachers, and best friends you can have. A lot of it is skinning your knees and learning as you go along. And sometimes it builds a tough chin for a boxer. You can't have a glass jaw. You need to take some shots. And for me, they weren't really setbacks. These were just ways of learning. It's almost like the gym. You need that negative in order to get the positive. You need that sort of weight resistance to build your muscle. And so these really weren't challenges for me. It was just it was a lot of the distractions and noise that was around me
Mhm.
that almost took me off my path. But I believe that if you can give yourself me time, you can decompress and walk away from things, write a draft and not send it, maybe sleep on something and come back the next day. That's maturity.
Mhm.
Might be able to readjust your head and know what the priorities are. Maybe even fall on a sword or two, Jaime, in order to keep the tone in the relationship. There's certain wins you can give somebody else that's little. It's not that big of a deal. I'd be more than happy to uh, pay for the bill and clean the spill, even though you did it, just so we don't have any trouble at the place. And so there are times and places for you to step up or to step back. And as a younger man, being in Philadelphia, we have such dreams of life and where we want to be. And so I guess it was just that misdirected energy. And I wish I could have used that differently. And even some of the best times, my friend, is when you apologize to somebody. You don't beg for forgiveness and you're not defacing yourself in public. But let's just say, Jaime, for an example, I raised my voice with you, or I was in a bad mood, or I just was being very rude when you really didn't deserve it because you are my main man. I'd think about it, call you next day, go, Jaime, I'm so sorry, dude. I got a flat tire. It was raining on me. You called me and you asked if I wanted to go to the movies. I yelled back at you. He goes, come on, Richie, I know. We're buddies. I'm going to judge you on the 99 times we were high-fiving and having the best day, not that one time when you were out of character.
Mhm.
I need to give you the benefit of the doubt. And those are the sort of things, my friend, that I would tell my 18-year-old self, just to see things a little bit differently, be a little bit more calm, and look at things a little bit more objectively. And if I could have done that, then maybe I wouldn't have had some sort of resentment, guilt, or knowing that I didn't say the right thing at the right time.
I love that. And that's one of the best advice I've received here is just being able to look at things at a different perspective because a lot of us, like you said earlier, think that we're like the center of attention. We're so special. Everybody needs to apologize to us. We're not the one at wrong here. And we're obsessed with being right all the time and don't want to show weakness by saying, I'm wrong. You're right. I'm sorry. Let's move past this. And they double down and they keep saying, no, I'm right. And they end up causing this scene and this strain on this relationship that shouldn't have been there if they would have just looked at it and their perspective. Like, why did I treat them this way? Was I the one in the wrong? And even if you're not in the wrong, trying to see why did my action make that person feel that way? Even if it was not intentional for me to hurt them, why were they hurt? And asking them and communicate with them. And that will make the relationship even stronger because you're being empathetic and you're trying to connect. And like you're saying, just really trying to make the scene better and not judge one incident over thousands of great experiences with that one person or that group of individuals.
Are you capable, Jaime, of making yourself vulnerable? You
Yeah.
have your best friends before you've told your darkest secrets and they still love you.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that with friendships, you can be vulnerable. If you have food on your face, your tie is not straight. And even in business, we have natural attrition here. People will leave me because of a scheduling conflict for the university.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe their boyfriend or girlfriend works at Amazon. It could be closer to their home and maybe other lucrative opportunities, but they never get the walk of shame or I yell at them. And when it comes to these sort of situations that you're talking about, I'll call my clients immediately and I'll let them know what's happening. Listen, Billy just quit and I have the solution for you. Not saying I look forward to those sort of moments, but I get more respect from my clients because you judge someone's character during chaos. And that's not the worst thing in the world that Billy just left. I have solutions for that. That's part of the game. That's the price you pay. But
Mm-hmm.
the fact that I am on it immediately and I have these solutions and I am forthright and there are no surprises. And trust me, prior to even contracts, we have preventative measures and we've discussed this before even working together. So once again, no surprises. I'm willing to do this. This is the captain of the ship. If you're willing to, and you're not going to ruin your reputation. In fact, people will respect you more. You're the straight shooter, black and white, balls and strikes. That's who I am. I don't want to spin it because if I do and I get caught, then you're not going to trust me anymore. So make your choice. You can really talk about what happened in a mature way and find solutions on it. And also, may I make another suggestion, is to use a thesaurus because similes can give you such more diplomatic and strategic vocabulary. I eliminate the word help. I prefer to use words like guide, assist, and my favorite, lend a hand. These are things that can readjust the tone, avoid any sort of rabbit holes. Ask them clarification questions. For my clarification, Jaime, was it A, B, C, or 1, 2, 3? All you're doing is showing active listening. You're engaged and you have checkpoints. So no one's making a mistake. And there's meeting minutes. There is accountability. It's very easy to give yourself 4 or 5 levels of protection before it gets to that stage, my friend. And those are the suggestions that I'd be giving to your amazing audience. Unicorns.
I love that. And all of those are great nuggets of advice. And for listeners, I really hope that you're paying attention because these are fantastic tips that you're giving out right now. And one more question in regards to, let's say that we have a young entrepreneur listening and they have an idea stuck in their head that they're like, maybe I want to open up a business. I'm not sure. What advice would you give them to start and act on that idea?
Sure. You should never compromise your ethics, values, or morals to earn $1. I've turned down more campaigns than I've accepted. We don't do sports books, casinos, stocks, pharmacies, or sweepstakes as much as Hollywood glamorizes them. We don't do them. I don't have anything against it. But Jaime, I'm in a very strict Catholic country.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure the agents can go home and tell their parents what they do for a living. So these young entrepreneurs, just make sure you can look in the mirror at the end of the day. And as I mentioned, that your parents are proud of you. And I'm going to say something else, my good friend, Jaime, that gold and jewels, they lose its luster.
Mm-hmm.
And how many more dinners can I eat the rest of my life? I have enough savings that I won't starve. Okay. And so there are certain times when you can pay it forward. And so don't ask me how much money I make. Ask me how many families I'm feeding on a monthly basis and how many jobs am I giving that are stable? How many people have I promoted? Second, third chances because people were having funky days. I don't know, but it's a lot larger than just looking at a bank account. You should have these cosquillas, these tingles inside of you. You should have this sort of direction in you so you can really sincerely drink life
Mhm.
and contribute, because there's 1,000 ways to make some money. And I'm not asking you to leave your job immediately and start off. That's being irresponsible. But to me, 40 hours is part-time, 80 hours is full-time. If you really want to be a player, that's how you build companies. And so you can still be responsible for your family, make a living. But during those evening hours or in certain days off or on the weekends, you can do this. And if it's not there, then building on additional skills. My main thing was public speaking. I love writing. I love rhetoric. Should be constantly, as you were mentioning earlier, practicing those soft skills and those interpersonal communication skills, which are even more essential. But hats off to anybody, because fortune favors the brave, and you only get 100 years on this planet. Might as well throw your hat in the ring and see what you can do with yourself.
I love that. I love that. And yeah, that was a lot of got you good, Jaime. Got you. I always say it's going good when you leave me speechless. I have to process everything you say.
I'm well rehearsed. I've done this on so many podcasts, but I really like being here because I gravitated towards it. You're like the nicest guy, and it's a very non-threatening podcast. Sometimes people shove ideas down your throat, but you bring the best out of people. I like your audience. I like the responses people have said, and that's why I reached out to you. And that's why I'm here today.
I really appreciate it. And that's the whole goal of this. It's just to be able to really shine the good parts of people and inspire others to be like you, be like the other unicorns on here, and showing them that it is possible, that these self-doubts that they may have in their head, there's ways to get over those obstacles that we set upon ourselves and be able to reach that success, that sense of happiness. And like you said earlier, money will come and go. And that should not be the end goal of your life. Your end goal should be, how can I make myself happy? What can I do to make other people around me happy and live that life? Pura vida. Really enjoy yourself. Enjoy living and thriving in the world that you're in today.
Easier said than done. Why don't we start simple? Why don't people just make their own beds in the morning? Why don't we start there? Right? Maybe wash your car on a Sunday. Treat yourself first and make a routine out of that. Have some sort of structure. And then you'll get a lot of first downs, and then the touchdowns start coming.
Exactly. And for my last question for you, and it goes really well with what we're saying right now, for a person in your eyes, what things would they have to work on in order to get them from being where they are now to reach that unicorn transformation and reach that happiness that they want to get?
They need to really decide whom are their mentors and study, because I shy away from self-help books and I prefer to maybe learn things on my own. But I do have influences. Like, I can give you mine, and this is what I did on the side for my own studying. I enjoyed the works of Basil Rathbone and Jeremy Brett. They did their Sherlock Holmes, but they were such incredible speakers. I like my Remington Steele and Templeton Peck from the A-Team. And so I studied speakers. I would pause and write the rhetoric and look up certain vocabulary words that they used. And so I gravitated towards a craft. And if you can do your dedicated practice, like Daniel's son with Mr. Miyagi, kick on that boat, do your punches on the beach. You might beat Johnny and be the champion of the All Valley. And so you need to continue to work on this, and you will know what's necessary and what is not necessary. There's heavy weight that you're carrying that's expected of you. Don't do it. And why would you compare yourself to somebody else? We're like the Justice League. We're all superheroes, fine, but each one of us has a special sauce. Man, you got to find your sauce. That's where you begin. And then the sauce, you can put it on any dish that you want, but create the sauce and be true to yourself. And if it's a unique sauce, then by all means, go at it. Because you, as I say before, you have a lot of influences, negative Nancy's, Debbie Downers, or just what's expected of you socioeconomically and where you live in the United States. And that's fine. But you could still click your heels and be a dreamer. Try it. See if it works. Geniuses are the ones that are misunderstood and feared the most, but then they're the ones that make history. So make your own decision. Yes.
I love that. I love that. And if anybody has any questions for you or they want to get to know you more, where can they find you online or talk to you?
I suggest they buy a first class plane ticket like you did and fly to Costa Rica and come visit me. But if it's plan B, I got an extremely large Facebook fan page, about 111,000 local Costa Rican ticos, and it will give your audience a chance to see the business process outsourcing industry in Central America. Now, for your audience, we're north of Panama, south of Nicaragua. Costa Rica is the only democratic society in Central America. There's no standing army. They put all of that money back into education. So there's a 95% literacy rate. Costa Ricans are claimed to have the most neutral English accents. We have companies such as Amazon, HP, and Intel, Oracle here because of our infrastructure and our labor force. And finally, we're known for medical tourism and especially eco-tourism. You can go to your hot springs and do your zip line and butterfly farms and the most beautiful beaches and surfing in the world. And I've been here for over 2 decades. Married the girl of my dreams. I love Costa Rica. And so if any of your audience wants to ask me any sort of questions, I got 1,000 suggestions for them.
I love that. And I'll put your Facebook group inside the show notes so that people can just click on it and then be able to reach it right away. This has been a fantastic conversation. I've had so much fun. And thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate it.
Es muy amable de su parte, Jaime. Thank you so much. I had a great time.
Igualmente, thank you. And for listeners, if you like this content, make sure you leave a 5-star review. And as always, episodes come out every Friday at 7 a.m. Until next time.